Welcome to another Minecraft video. Today I'm here to talk to you guys about furnace arrays, or super smelters as people call them. I've been a huge fan of making my own designs for basically ever since I started playing on PC. And yeah, I've come up with my own basic idea quite early and then started improving it over time with new ideas, with new things that came out, and I always kept in mind two guiding principles for that. Today, however, is the day where I will be breaking one of them, and we shall see if that's a good idea or if keeping my old mentality was actually a good thing all along. So, yeah, I want to start out by telling you guys about my guiding principles, then showing you guys some furnace arrays that I've built in the past, and then we are going to get into the new crazy prototype at the end. So my first guiding principle is I don't like using water streams for any of the lines where I actually have my smelting items going through. Fuel is one thing, but water streams, if I'm not careful, stuff can despawn, and I would like to get the same items or the same amount of items out of the smelter in the end as I put in on top. So yeah, anything where I can have stuff despawn is a no-go. And in the end, that's something that you can easily run into because, well, if I put items out of my container, which is anything from a hopper to a chest, barrel, dropper, whatever, and into the world, it can despawn after 5 minutes. And all that needs to happen is that for some reason the hopper that I have at the end of a water stream cannot keep up with the one that puts the stuff into the water. Maybe I put the stuff into a water stream right after it comes out of a furnace in a weird tact, and yeah, it can screw things up very severely. So that's the first thing that I would like to avoid. And this is one that I'm still going to keep in take into account here. The thing that I'm actually breaking here is my rule about not using minecarts. Minecarts, in my opinion, are unreliable, very hard to work with, and I would like to avoid all of that trouble. But yeah, when they go out of the loaded area, they can get stuck sometimes. I think it's more of a problem if there are multiple minecarts on the same track. But even if they are aligned like this, for some reason, they seem to interfere with each other side by side, so they are not amazing to work with. And for the longest time, I just wanted to not have that headache and especially not make it so that I need to eventually call back into the system and try to get the things moving once they got stuck somewhere. I used minecarts for the fuel farms over here, which of course is bamboo. But besides that, I've usually avoided them. So, in order to get into the topic of what's happening with my super smelter here, and the basic idea behind it has been the same for the longest time, we're going to take a look at an older, slightly simpler model first, because everything that's going on here in the middle is very complicated to look at. So let's take a look at an older version, which is a bit more on the simple side. Also, over here I'm still using pistons, so it should be really easy to demonstrate what's really going on with the system. And yeah, we are going to start by talking about basically the entire slice over here. Everything in the middle is for the fuel. There's a hopper line going around in the middle to distribute the fuel. We have hoppers pointing into the furnaces. And we have a fuel chest for storage over here. So nothing really complicated, it's just a bit bulky. We also have, and this is the higher line over here on the outside, this is a ring of hoppers going around in circles, and this is for distributing the items that I want to smelt. They are going to look for an empty hopper, which is not being blocked off by the redstone blocks right here, which of course can extend into this location. And from here the items are getting sucked down into the furnaces, and from there they will smelt and eventually make their way to the output chest. So let's now talk about the complicated looking stuff on the outside. Basically, I have two sets of comparators over here, and they are here to monitor both the furnace and the hopper above it. The furnace always should have 64 fuel items in here, and then only a few other items in addition to that are getting smelted. Ideally, I would like there to always be one or two items, but with how the whole thing works with signal strength, I have usually like 5 or 6 of them in here. I think the limit to jump over to a higher output state is 5, and due to delay, there's always going to be a 6th item that makes its way in here. But yeah, I try to keep the amount of items in the furnace low, just so that every item that doesn't make it into this furnace is going to try find the next one in line. So this is how I want to distribute the items across the entire array over here. And yeah, meaning that once I have enough items in here, the signal strength will be a bit stronger, activating the comparators over here. And that will activate the piston on top of the block and block anything else from coming in here. The reason I'm going to show you guys how this one works is because it's much easier to see how it's actually going using the pistons here. There's more movement in the system, clarifying when it's actually working. So if we have any item going through only the top hopper, this thing will quickly extend and then pull back. If the furnace is actually filled up far enough, then yeah, the piston will stay extended for a longer time. That's the basic idea here. And if you're wondering why I'm looking into the hopper on top, this is for the case when I want to smelt multiple different types of items. If I have the last one of the first batch of items in here, let's say that's sand that's being turned into glass, and we are now having some stone coming in to be turned into smooth stone or something. If I didn't have this thing up here, the entire hopper could be filling up. 5 stacks of items and everything else is completely starved of things to do. And then we are going to wait ages for this one furnace to do its job because it just has so many things in queue. So I make sure that whenever I have even one item in here, I block the entire thing from putting anything more in here. And this just makes it so that it's all a bit more evenly distributed. So yeah, the trick is that the items can actually flow free on top, but the system is self-managing down below with how many items there are in each single furnace. So let's now put in some items and see how long it takes. I don't need to take that many here because we are going to move on from here. But you can see that the pistons are starting to do their dance. Eventually they will stay extended for quite a while. But before that they are going to make this awkward back and forth in order to get some items filtered in and out. And this is going to continue moving around until it hits the other side of the system. And since I'm using 2 upper lines going to opposite ends of the entire thing, we are seeing the same thing happening over here. It has a very long startup time though before we get all the hoppers in or all the furnaces in use. The thing is, the more hoppers we already have in use, the larger the chance that one of them will run out of items and be eligible to take more of them. So yeah, it's going to take a while again until further items make it further down the line, meaning that the last few furnaces on every side are going to take ages before they become active. But if I want to go for a full double chest or even more than that, this would be a decently efficient system in the long run. Just takes a long time to really get going, and that's the same for every other furnace system that I have here using hoppers. There's a trick that you can do with getting all the items into a line and only the last hopper then deactivates all the hoppers down below being blocked. but that's also kind of difficult to do at scale, and especially with random hopper timings, I had some issues with that in the past. But yeah, this thing will do its thing. It's gonna take a while, but eventually the stuff will come out at the bottom, and yeah, this is how the entire thing is going to actually end up filling up over here, because I already have everything else full. But yeah, this has been the same basic principle from one of my first prototypes over to the last one of the same ilk. So let's move over to this one here. Or you know what? Better even that, let's move over to this one in the back here. Because this is pretty similar. It has another system in the middle. And over here I'm not even using any minecarts, because I'm actually utilizing one of my other farm designs for bamboo. Basically, the stuff is going to keep on growing until it reaches one of the observers, activating the entire line over here, destroying the bamboo, keeping the block extended that is in front of the piston here, until everything from on top will land on top of that, and then the piston above it will just sweep it off. We might be able to actually see that in a moment, or maybe I could provoke that happening. It's going to be tough to see it though if I try to make it work artificially. But you know what? You see that yeah, the blocks stay extended, other items fall on top of them, and then they all get swept off and put into the water stream. The good thing about this is it's completely autonomous, so it's working on its own. I don't really need to do any input here. The problem is, well, needs quite a bit of redstone, needs quite a bit of space, and compared to a farm which is just growing in an entire area, this is of course giving a rather meek output. But hey, it's working. So when it comes to the entire furnace, everything that I just explained on the other one is still true over here. I only changed a few things so that I don't need pistons anymore now that we have the target blocks. So this thing here is still doing the exact same thing. The middle, however, is quite a bit more complicated. I wanted to have a proper fuel storage surveillance system, just so that I'm always sure that I have enough items in here and that I'm not running low on them. Also, with how many items it takes to smelt anything here, 4 pieces of bamboo for one single item to be yeah, fully smelted in the furnace. I want to have some storage very close to the furnaces themselves. So we have a double chest for every 2 furnaces, also a few hoppers on top. And we are actually looking at every second hopper in order to determine if there's enough stuff in here. As long as they are full, we are keeping the this line off. As soon as there's actually anything empty in here, the entire storage system is going to spring into action. Right now that the line is off, it's dormant, meaning that everything is just being collected over here. But if we start smelting, some of the torches will turn on. That will turn on the hopper, or I mean the dropper line over here, meaning that we are actually cycling through all the stuff in the furnaces and, I mean, the storage system here, so that more of the bamboo can make it into the areas where it needs to go. So if I go to the input chest over here, just put in a few items, we can see part of how it's working. It should very quickly start requesting more fuel, as we can see right here. There should also be others turning on every now and again, but we'll see about that. Yeah, we can see that the whole thing is really going now. and that will activate everything going on right here in order to keep the fuel cycling through. And I'm not entirely sure if this version has a shut-off for the actual furnace, so that it needs to refill before keeping going, but I think I may have avoided that one. Sometimes I put that in, sometimes I don't. I don't like repeating the same design over and over, so for some of the stuff, despite having an idea on how to deal with things, I just keep it out because it's just going to be unnecessary work otherwise. But yeah, this thing can keep on going and start requesting more fuel, and eventually it might actually completely run out of it. But yeah, now this stuff is working, it's putting the bamboo in, and it can make its way over to the different furnaces. The idea is that I have enough storage for the fuel that despite getting lower when it's in use, it should hopefully have enough time between being used to refill whatever has been missing in the end. But yeah, this is also going to take a while, but it's gonna do its thing just over time. This system isn't much different from here, apart from having my advanced input chest. Basically, whatever I put in here is going to stay in here until I hit one of the buttons. Nothing too crazy, just a few hoppers being blocked. And it's really the last system here that I want to show from the old type. The problem with this system has always been hopper speed. And since I'm always using double hopper lines, I'm taking out the stuff at twice the speed, as you can see right here. The same thing is happening on the other hopper to the left. So we can already tell how long it's going to take to even just take out 2 stacks of items. We're actually done here now. So I wanted to have something quicker. And here we get into the the thing where I first tried to still adhere to my old ideas, not using any minecarts apart from ones that are standing still. I wanted to use a dropper chain instead of hoppers instead. Just instead of hoppers, because they are quite as fast potentially. So I could theoretically go up to double the amount of furnaces here. It also is very loud and just constantly clicking, which isn't really that amazing, so this thing didn't really go too far. So if I just go in here, maybe go with a few stacks up here, and then in order to get it started I also need something in here right now. It's going, but it's also very annoying. And we should see the furnaces turning on in a moment. It's actually not even all that fast. But yeah, theoretically with the higher speed from the droppers, I can, with one single line, get up to the very end here. I think the last one will always stay off, but everything in front of that, good to go, and it will keep on going over time. And quite a bit quicker than the other type here, when it comes to reaching the full capacity for the furnaces. Or at least a decent amount of them being active. But this is still far from ideal, so let's finally talk about the new prototype. And this is it. I'm making full use of hopper minecarts here. I'm actually having 2 per side, and to be clear, everything left of the track is a completely separate system from everything right of the track. They are just basically 2 wings put together, but I can make this half as wide and maybe twice as long, which I think the next prototype will be, because I noticed that these minecarts are actually kinda awful and just interfering with each other as long as they are side by side. So I kinda want to get rid of that, and for that I think it's better to mirror one of the sides here to the other end. So twice as long, half as wide, should be a lot better. But yeah, these things have a few problems, but what are their advantages? Well, let me fill up this chest real quick. I'm going to do that completely. And as soon as I let go of the item here, everything is going to be in the chest officially, so the thing is going to start processing. And this is the speed at which 2 hopper minecarts can empty out one double chest. It's going to keep going until it's getting rid of the 10th stack over here. So this slot will be empty. When something is happening down below, the minecart's actually getting sent off, and we are getting a second pair, which will get or suck in another 10 stacks. So until these 2 are empty, and then it's going to stop again for a moment. And now it's just waiting for the return of the other 2 minecarts, sending off the freshly loaded ones, and then it's going to continue sucking in some items. Not quite as many anymore, because I cannot fully distribute 10 stacks in one go, but it's going to be quite quickly. And here we go, minecarts are swapping out again, and we are back to sucking in more items. And for the most part, the amount of furnaces I have here gets this stuff done in about the same time that it's taking to be taken in here. Plus maybe 10 seconds. The problem is, down below I'm still using an old hopper chain because I got lazy. So this thing is quite a bit slower, but in the end, once the last set of minecarts is sent out, it's going to not take too long until everything is being dealt with. The overall amount of furnaces I have here are 150, so more than 3 times as much as I have on the other things. So this is quite a bit more, quite a bit faster, and I'm really happy with how it's working so far. And yeah, the distribution works by just the hopper minecarts going over the hoppers above the furnaces, and due to the minecart speed, it's going to exactly drop down 1 item each time and another one on the way back, and that's how I get the stuff in there. All the things on the outside are more for fuel management, which we'll get into in a moment. But yeah, overall the basic idea is quite simple, but with the use of minecarts I have been running into quite a few problems. Sometimes they can get stuck over here because you've seen they don't just straight up roll out here, they do a bit of a turn, and if they interfere with each other they can get caught over here. So that's a bit weird. And in order to avoid the problem of having multiple minecarts run into each other once one of them is out of loaded chunks, if it ever happens, I decided to make the system so that there's always ever only 1 minecart on each track. So basically I have multiple holding stations, 2 per side. The one in the middle is of course the one that's also going to be loading the minecarts, but it's not going to ever send them out before the other one is back. So basically that one keeps the minecarts loaded and it's going to wait until they are fully loaded. Only then, once the other minecart on the outside is also back, then it's going to allow the ones in the center to go. And as soon as the center is empty, the ones on the outside are allowed to move over. So that's how that all works. And with this system, they shouldn't ever be on the same track at the same time, meaning that it should hopefully be foolproof. Not fully sure about that. There's also another little system in here. The thing is, it's basically moving in 2 different modes. If there are items in the chest, it's always only going to send out the minecarts if they are full. If there are no items in the chest anymore, then the minecarts are going to send off as long as there are items in there. Again, both of the times waiting for the other minecarts to return, just because otherwise the entire system would be broken. And now it seems to be all empty. So the minecarts in the middle are empty, the chest is empty, so no more of them are getting sent out. Little problem here that I still need to address. There could be a case that maybe a few items are left in the minecarts on the outside. Right now I'm not checking those, so I cannot really tell if there's stuff left over here. But that's something that I think I can fix as well. I just need to take care of it at some point. But yeah, so far this part is working. It needs more time for the items to return. And I think I could basically do something similar to up here, but just the other way around. Empty minecarts go out, eventually come back loaded and go back out empty. And that way I don't need to wait for so long until I get all the stuff in here. And yeah, the output chest is less than half full at this point. But it should be getting a bit quicker at some point with the next thing. So this is my prototype as far as the distribution of the items and the collection is concerned, at least mostly the distribution. The system in the back here is actually quite neat with how it works. I have a few end gates in here. I think this is basically the end gates. And those are the ones that can send out the hopper minecarts, but they are going to wait until, well, either the load requirement for the minecarts is fulfilled, and definitely until the outside minecarts are back. And yeah, I might be able to get the other thing in here. Maybe I don't even need to make this all this complicated, but yeah, I kind of like the minecarts getting fully loaded up before leaving the first time. And yeah, everything down below with getting the items back out of the furnaces is its own thing, and that definitely needs a bit more R&D in order to keep up with the input rate. The big thing for me is I read up on the Minecraft wiki that the top speed limit for hopper minecarts is 8 blocks per second. So theoretically I could have 80 hoppers per side or 80 furnaces, meaning that the grand total would be 160. I always need one block in the end here for the thing to slow down and turn around, because otherwise I would only get one item in here and I don't want that. So that's always going to be a bit inefficiency through that. And also the entire system here has a bit of delays, so this is why I cannot really utilize the full potential. But maybe with the second prototype I can also work out something to make this a bit quicker. We will have to see about that. But yeah, maximum with this idea is 160 furnaces if I go double-sided. Now let's talk about the fuel, and the fuel system is as flawed as it comes. First up we have a chest over here. This is my storage. I'm using dried kelp block over here, which I just wanted to try out with well, the autocraft and all of that. And yeah, it's working out pretty well, but they are a bit tougher to deal with. First up, the distribution, pretty simple. I'm monitoring the hoppers on the outside. So these are the ones feeding into the furnace. And if they ever have even a single block less than a full stack in here, the signal is going to decrease, meaning that the torch will turn on. And all the torches are giving off a signal which will be going into the center line, meaning that if I ever have even one space left here which is not filled up with kelp blocks, this chest is going to have the items sucked out and just get them along the line in order to bring the stuff around. Pretty simple in principle. The problem is once I maybe start and get one item over here that I need to refill, the kelp blocks need to come in from the other end, and this signal is going to be have a torch on for so long that a whole bunch of items are going to send out, and most of them will inevitably end up in the last chest over here. So first up, I want to make my system a bit quicker by using water streams. Once again, I don't care too much about the items as far as fuel is concerned. And secondly, there will also be a return water stream, because having the items in the back here, while the front part of the storage is kind of running empty, not a good thing. So those are two things I need to take care of, and they should be pretty simple. I just didn't want to rip out the entire system here again. But yeah, for the near future, this is where this is going to go. But yeah, the fuel system I wanted to try here also has a few flaws, and I'm not entirely sure if I want to stick around with kelp here. I'm still a bit split between using bamboo over kelp. They both have some advantages and disadvantages. I think a kelp farm is overall a bit easier to do because you can make some of the water streams on top. So as long as everything below that is full water source, the stuff will actually flow upwards, so you don't, even if you go for like a long and wide kind of farm, you can make that 16 blocks wide without needing any hopper minecarts down below or anything like that. Everything can fully automatically float to the surface and then be collected in another water stream. So that is pretty awesome. While with bamboo, of course, you have the stuff fall to the ground, and then you need to pick it up from there. Either with minecarts below the entire farm, or as I did over there with whatever that thing is. More like a one wide farming strip. So yeah, that's a potential problem. But the thing that's really keeping me from fully committing to kelp over here is the fact that you actually need to put it through a furnace, or in this case a smoker. Because before you can make the kelp blocks, you need to dry every single piece of kelp by heating it up, smelting it, and then it can be put into the crafter. And this process takes 5 seconds per item, even in the smoker, and that's just, it's not amazing. It's just way too long, and yeah, it's a major bottleneck for the entire system. Then again, once I get to the full dried kelp block, this thing can smelt 20 items at once, or before it runs out and needs replacement. So that is quite a lot, which I'm pretty happy with. The problem is, out of the 20 items, I need 9 of them to be other kelp in order for the thing here to sustain itself. So effectively, after considering how many smelting processes I have in order to get this going, I end up with 11 items per dried kelp block. 11 items per dried kelp block means that it's a bit more than 1 item per single kelp, which is still quite a bit better than bamboo, but then again, with this I have a major shortcoming in the production line. So if I have the stuff coming in bulk, this will take a while to convert it into actual fuel. While I can use the bamboo from the get-go, and even with the new, or the relatively new autocrafter, I can make this even better. So for kelp, it's slightly more than 1 item per fuel item, or per raw kelp that I get out of it. For these ones, it's 1/4 of an item can be fueled with a single bamboo. If I put it through a bit of a process here in order to get the stuff turned into planks, which can get a few more items at a time, I'm going up to around, I think, 1/3 of an item per single bamboo. So this is a bit more effective. I made this little thing here in order to turn the bamboo from the raw form into planks. So if I just empty this out, get a bit of bamboo real quick. There it is. I can show you that at least this part of it is working quite a bit quicker. At least as long as I have the farm input going. And it's always going to be a major thing, how big is the farm going to be. If my array can keep up with it without any problem, then yeah, I guess the other stuff is better. But yeah, this can just take in 3 items on top. So this is going relatively quickly. Taking in 1 block of bamboo and turning that into bamboo planks. So this is just from what I produce over here. And yeah, this is going real quick. So in terms of the raw output speed, you have to really build something very big in order to keep up with this. Even if the dried kelp blocks are a bit more effective. Then again, with a furnace array that is this large, keep in mind that most likely if you only go for a single double chest here, you are going to likely miss out on a few items being wasted here in terms of smelting. You're not going to neatly end up using exactly 1 kelp block for the entire process, or 2 or whatever. So yeah, this is all a bit weird in that regard. Yeah, we are going through all the stuff here. Gonna take a while, but you can see we are making good progress here. I also try to make this thing as intelligent as it can be. So for example, if you simulate this chest being full by just removing it, items are going to get stuck in the hopper, meaning that this is going to stop the entire clock from working. This is basically a vertical version of the output dependent crafter that I showed you guys a while ago. So once there's storage available again, the entire thing is going to keep going, and it's also going to work if I run out of stuff here. After all, I basically kicked this on by putting more items in here. So this seems to be pretty robust, and definitely in terms of processing the items into the fuel type I want to have, much more efficient. I don't know how many kelp blocks I'm actually using per smelting, but I think I'm wasting quite a bit of potential fuel, so there is an argument to be made for these ones instead. However, I also tried upscaling my operations in terms of the fuel that I'm making. This is the last thing I want to show you guys today, having a few more blast furnaces, or I mean the smelters in here. I think this has gone on for the entire time, I think. Oh no, it's actually running out of stuff, which is not even all that bad. So let's take a look at this barrel. This is one completely loaded up with kelp. And I'm going to process the entire thing here. So I'm just throwing this in. This would be the input end. Out of the farm, right into the furnaces. And first up, this is going to start doing a few rounds. Just filling up all the hoppers, few at a time. And there should be less and less stuff going around every single time that it does a lap here. And eventually all the kelp should have found some space for it. Yeah, I think it's over already. It's not evenly distributed. I think the first one will be quite a bit fuller than the last one. So yeah, that's one problem, that it's not really working all in tandem all that well. I could maybe add the other system that I had over here to this as well to even out the inputs a bit more, but that would be for another prototype and it would make the entire thing much bigger. The important part though is that the raw kelp gets put into the smoker, getting processed pretty quickly. Then it goes right into a crafter. Each single smoker has its own crafter. And from here we do a signal strength thing again. So we need 9 signal strength in order for these ones to activate, at which point they're going to shoot the items up into the water stream. And from there they go up into the elevator, go around the entire system, and then come back around on the other end here. So they need to pass by all of the hoppers over here for the fuel intake before they can make it into the actual system. Just so that I'm sure that these the smokers will always be full and not ever run out of any fuel. Because anything that it overproduces is what it's going to output, but that's basically secondary for the system to be self-sustaining. But yeah, this thing not entirely perfect, and even as it is right now, it's going to take a while before it's doing stuff. It's basically outputting one single kelp, or no, 8 kelp blocks every 45 seconds. So yeah, I can make this better, I can make this bigger, I can make the fuel, or I mean the kelp to be smelted, distributed a bit more evenly. But it's still going to be a massive system on its own, and I'm not entirely sure if I really want that. In the end, both of the items are going to need their own farm, and this one, in addition to that, is going to need a massive smelter on its own in order to keep itself sustained. Maybe I'm making a big thing out of nothing. It's not like I'll ever be running the whole system here without any pause or something. But yeah, it's definitely something on my mind that I want to account for, so I'm not entirely sure which one I want to go with. I think for the sake of content, since I've done so many things with bamboo already, I might just try and make one single full-scale kelp farm this time around and see how that works out in practice. It's likely going to be very similar to this one, but just full with water and kelp and water streams on top. We are going to see how that works out. Anyways, enough about this. This is the end of the video. Thanks for watching, and let me know your thoughts and opinions on all the matter. I know this is quite a lot, over 40 minutes long. But yeah, I want to give you guys a bit of overview of not only the things that I've done right now, but also what they were in the past. And what can I say? I think minecarts here, if I can make the work a bit better, a bit more reliable, then this is going to be a winner just with how fast everything is going, because this is amazing. But yeah, definitely need to take care of a few other things. At least all the items have finally arrived. So yeah, with that, once again, thanks for watching, and see you guys next time. Until then, have a good one, and bye bye.